Uh, Speaking of very specific objects that feature in the film, the cell phone. How did the timing work? Because it's so vital that you get those calls or that it buzzes at the right time. Was that done later in post, or was that done live?
No, no, no. That was there. There was the voice at the other end was an actor in another room watching us on a monitor and then phoning in at the right time.
Including my mother. They had them all in this little room. Yeah, that's an incredible part of the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
A very little room, no window, just a monitor, and there they were sitting, watching on the monitor, and then, hello, Alan. And at first they tried it, on the regular phone, but it does take a while to go up to the orbit and down from the satellite. So that didn't work, so they had to find another solution. It was then kind of, complicated technically, but it worked.
Is that attention to detail common in movies that you've made, or was this like a very unique experience?
I felt like if you compared it to like, compared it to like clothing, like most movies feel like, you're in the Kmart factory, and this felt like you're with, Yves Saint Laurent in his private studio. It was like the very best people working on it, like the attention to detail and the commitment of everyone involved it was truly the cream of the crop, right? Didn't it feel like that?
Absolutely.
In fact, we got kind of spoiled. You start to think like, yes, I should always be living on the Place de Vosges and having handmade French,
Fries.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a very heady experience, and looking back on it, I just can't believe how lucky I was.
And John and I went to Beaufangier's afterwards because it was just around the corner, and sort of devouring various kinds of oysters and all that. That was just a little detour.
I held on to my oysters somehow. Yours, we worked off. I don't know.
This was a great situation where you guys were offered these roles. You didn't have to audition. Do you mind the audition process? Are you good at it?
I don't mind it. I actually like, it can be nerve-wracking, if you think about it, like I'm being judged, and but if you just turn it around and think, I'm judging them. I want to see if I want to work with them. This is an audition for the director, not for me. Like, I know I'm going to be great at this part, but it's great. It's the few times that I have done, or not the few times, but many times now, but the times where I haven't auditioned, it's a little odd on that first day, especially if you don't rehearse a lot. You're suddenly supposed to have this rapport and understand where they're coming from, and an audition really is like a really concentrated way to do that, to see like what's this person's point of view, what do they need me to do, and so it's going to be very valuable in that way. How about you, Christoph?
I'm scared to death of auditions. I'm really scared. I don't like it. Sometimes it's all right. Sometimes it ends up, and that's the most positive aspect of it, that you make your first step into the material, should you be lucky enough to get the part. But the idea I find disconcerting, to say the least.
Do you know when you have a very famous audition story for Inglourious Bastards, that you walked in and just nailed this part. Did you know? Can you feel it when you just knocked out the part?
How do you do that? That's sort of retrospectively kind of putting a nice spin on the story. But you don't walk into an audition nailing a part. Hello, here I come. Can I nail the part, please? I mean, how would you do that? It's still disconcerting. I'm sorry, and the fact that you nail, I don't know. It's not really what an audition is about anyway.
You got to learn German for it.
Yeah, well, it took me a while.
If you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll try to get as many as possible. Sure.
Everyone's got their own way of doing it, right? Some people go like that. Like, I have a hard time with that. I tend to memorize things by physical action and emotion, Like I have a really hard time just sitting and memorizing something. I have to get on my feet and start to rehearse a little bit in order to connect my whole body to what's being said at different times, and then once it's in there, it's like it's locked in there. But I think everyone's brain is wired in a different way. There's a great little app. Have you seen this thing, iRehearsal?
Yes.
I tried to do that. That's pretty funny, except then I had to listen to my own voice reading the other lines. Like, oh, God, it was horrible.
I know the guy who created that app.
Oh, good for him.
And for you, do you have a specific method?
I think it's different every time. You know, sometimes I learn them mechanically and just to have the words, and sometimes I do it exactly like John just described. And it depends. You know, it depends on what you drink the night before. It depends on.
You had a lot of physical action in this film to go with the dialogue. Did you find that that helped?
Yeah, there's nothing like sweeping vomit into a dish to help you memorize its words. Yeah, there's a lot of physical action, and actually, really, all of it really helped because there's a lot of traffic. You know, moving here and moving there. And
But I remember this so well. The first time I saw John do this.
a little gross, but very practical. You just need to get it off there. That stuff was made out of actual cobbler. Like they blended up the actual stuff we were eating.
You could have put it in the oven and it would have turned out all right.
Like a pudding, yeah.
We have a question right here.
That was kind of like every man for himself on that subject, you know, because everyone was drinking different amounts at different times and had a different relationship to alcohol. You know, I think Jody, like, given how sternly I advise her not to drink, I think she's one of those one drink and off to the races kind of people. Yeah, but honestly, rehearsal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You just have to you have a few and then look in the mirror and notice how you're acting and don't do any more than that or any less than that, I guess.
I feel like there are so many different relationships with each character and they go from so many different emotions to the whole movie.
Well, it was fun. I mean,
Yeah, but the same thing again. Given the 2 weeks of rehearsal, it was never, while we were shooting it, never really any danger of getting lost or veering off. Or we kind of had a certain goal, we had a certain pace, a certain perspective, a certain approach. And not that it was all a done deal, not at all, but the parameters were pretty concrete.
I mean, you just faked it until the actual rig came in, and there was all this discussion. Remember this whole crazy French team of vomitologists, you know, like, and Roman was obsessing about the consistency and the volume and the project. You know, they had this whole rig, and Kate all dressed in this blue kind of Incredibles outfit to make her go away, except for her face, and then this thing, and it, like, there were a few misfires that just like got us all pretty good. And that we just moved really slowly when we got to those complicated physical parts of it. We just, because the set, you know, we needed to keep continuity, so they would move really slowly, bit by bit, and you know, it's so gross to talk about.
I can contribute something even grosser. Roman thought it was terribly funny by doing this something. Like a little kid, he loved it.
How many times did he do that before the joke got old?
He would have visitors. I thought some do to like 3 different visitors. Like, oh, did you see this? Oh, these people would be like, oh.
I feel like there are so many different relationships with each character and they go from so many different emotions to the whole movie. How was that?
Honestly, I didn't really even think I could make a job of being an actor until I was almost out of college, and I went to a conservatory of acting in Chicago. And when I was a kid, I was just doing theater because it was fun, but I had no reference points. I didn't even realize you could make that your job, and then eventually it just became my job. But no, I mean, I was never that audacious to think like I wasn't one of those kids like I'm gonna be the greatest actor ever. I'm gonna be a movie star. Like it was like not where I come from, man.
I was that kid.